Committee meeting, September 12th, 24, 11:30 a.m. we'll call it. And if you would please make note of who's here and who's online. Kim is online. Aaron is online. Is that it?
Mal and Rudy.
Okay. Yeah.
The board membership.
Okay, great. Let's see, approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as
I second.
Okay. Public participation. Is there anybody with us who wants to talk to us? Look like it. Approval of minutes. We have the 8/16/24 meeting minutes in the packet.
I make a motion, we approve the August 16th minutes.
second.
Thank you. Joe, all yours.
Thank you, Max.
Maybe we should start out with congratulations, Joe.
Yes.
I appreciate the opportunity to lead the organization. I can't say it how much I appreciate it. I do.
Yeah, we're looking forward to your replacement being hired. So
Yes.
you don't have to do.
Requested the bill to replace myself.
Yeah, well, good. Yeah.
Fix it.
I tried to just send an email to HR and he said I had to follow the process.
You know, actually,
Yeah.
where's your card? We'll pause on that since you brought it up. What's the time? Will that go up pretty quickly?
Yeah, as soon as it's already been approved by the FD committee, so we're good.
Where does it go?
It's gonna be, it'll start with just the Bartlett website, but then I'll work with Joe for like possibly the Alaska CPA Association, look at it,
HFMA.
HFMA, yeah, based with the boutique. And we did the CEO search on Becker's. It's pretty expensive to post on Becker's, but for CFO, I think it's worth it as well.
Okay. Yeah, I support being very aggressive and, out there and getting it on Monster, even a couple of those other places that, they're approved.
Yeah, Indeed, LinkedIn, there's a bunch of standard places that our system automatically broadcasts to.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so we'll hit all the standard spots and then any boutique spot.
Okay, Joe.
All right, I'm gonna start the report with some updates at RRC. As all the board members know, we went through the Assembly Finance Committee meeting that included $500,000 that we go through the full assembly and help support that program through transition to GHS. Early this week, early last week, we had a couple resignations from staff over there. That's took us to the point where we're no longer able to sustain staffing and continue services in RRC. We're already kind of at the tipping point with all the stuff we've done up to that point. So as we lost the last couple of people, it's made it where we have to start giving notices and looking at closing the program relatively quickly. It's slated to close officially on the 23rd of September right now. So we're in the process of notifying all the appropriate people, going through licensure and then finding places for all the patients to go. I'm working with GHS on the transition to hopefully them sooner rather than later. So that's all in the process right now. So I just wanted to give everyone an update that that's happening. There'll be notifications going out to notice by the assembly. I know I've talked to Max and Kenny, and I think Deb's been informed by Ian. We've let staff know, we've let Deb staff know, and now there'll be all staff email going out shortly. And so we're trying to keep everyone in the loop what's going on. I know that we've also been in contact with all the other community players to kind of touch base with that program. Make sure everyone knows what's going on.
And, well, first, you guys. There we go. I happened to talk at the finance committee meeting with Jonathan Switten and GHS, and he was thinking that at that point it was a 90-day, we were thinking about 90 days and 12/1. So, I mean, we've moved that up a bunch. Is it realistic to think that they're going to be able to take these patients?
Well, I think in talking with Kim and she talked to Jonathan, he stated that he thought he'd have 4 beds open by October 15th. So that's, I think, is that he's having staffing issues as well. I think it's kind of what the thing that's.
If I may through the chair.
Yeah.
So the good news is that the majority of the patients that reinforced, there was only census of 9, I believe, 8 or 9. The majority of those already were planning to have a disposition by the 23rd anyway.
Oh.
There's about 3 that that weren't ready for their discharge to complete the program. two of those folks, we've been in contact with. The plan was for them to go to other agencies anyway after their stint here. But we've been in contact with them to see if they can take them early. My understanding from conversations this morning that that's an option. And then they have one that was planning on discharging, going back home anyway with supportive care. So we have that all kind of tied up. So there won't be any patient, there won't be anyone that's in the program now, just kind of, kicked out and like, good luck. They all have a plan in place for connection and for support.
The two that are going to are they going to other 3.5 somewhere? Or are they going to a 3.1 or what?
One is looking at housing, a housing place, and then the other one is for True North, which is where they came from, and they're going back there.
There was an agreement also processed, Kim, with GHS to provide medical support to patients. Where are we with that process?
It's where we're working with those folks now. I can't say too much about it because everything hasn't been finalized, but we have talked to like the behavioral health clinical director, Dr. Pedroia, and have said, is this a possibility? He's talked to his team and said, yes, we can make that work. So we're just in the process of kind of doing one step at a time, but we don't have any reason to believe that we won't be able to provide that service for them.
Great.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
What will happen with that building?
That is a good question.
There are a number.
That's a good question. I think we have some plans with a piece of it that was the detox unit to start. I know there's interest from outside entities as well, but I think that needs to be looked at through a different lens. Because when we went through and did all our space planning review process, we didn't know about RRC at that point, so it was kind of left off the table as a one-off. I think we need to circle that in plans along with the world that we.
At one point, it was in pretty bad shape. What's the condition of it?
I think they've got some updates. I did a walkthrough recently. It seems like it's in good shape.
Through the chair, there's a newer wing, which is in very good shape. And as of today, that is the temporary location that we identified for an orthopedic clinic. But the rest of the use of that building, as Joe had mentioned, we weren't originally anticipating it coming available before January. So with some of the other space planning efforts that we've done so far, we just haven't evaluated it to the same extent. But it's in good shape.
How many square feet is it?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
10,000 square feet anywhere. Okay, great. Anything more on that?
We have monthly financials.
Question, sorry, to the chair. Are other staff then being incorporated in these other positions with the
If that were you, Ted.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I couldn't quite.
Where are the staff going from RC?
So the bulk of the staff should be able to be absorbed. And we're working through that process right now. We met with RRC yesterday. And we're having those folks come in to meet with Tiffany Riddle, our HR manager. She's doing kind of the Tetris piece with all of the seniority. But yeah, we have quite a few positions available. So I would say the bulk, hopefully all, but the bulk, the vast majority will have the opportunity to be absorbed into the rest of the organization.
Thank you.
So at the staffing level then, so there's 2 nurses over there, right?
There's 5.
Oh, there's 5 nurses in the, have their locations been settled yet, or is that still in process?
It's still in process. We just had the conversation with them yesterday, so they're meeting with our team tomorrow and or Monday to start going through that seniority process.
Okay. Will that be settled by the time we meet for the board meeting, or probably not? I mean, it's gonna take a month or so, I think.
I think it should probably only take a couple of weeks. So once we start going through and people start identifying where they're going to go and how we're going to line it out, it tends to be a fairly quick process. I'd say a week or 2 weeks.
Having a repeat of this at the full board meeting, including kind of what's happening with the staff, I think would be good, but the patients as well, all those sort of things.
Through the chair, just to be clear, those 5 nurses, they're not all full-time or benefited positions.
Oh, they're not.
Most of them are casual or PRN.
Gotcha. Okay.
So looking at the month of July, we had a good month revenue wise, net patient revenue exceeded the prior month by 724,000. Bottom line standpoint, it was actually one of our better months in recent history. On the expense side, when we look at the major variances, physician contract, I'm just going to touch base on the budget to get that out of the way. So when we went through the budget process, some of the stuff that was budgeted was miscategorized or dismissed, and that was some of the new programs. So I take ownership of that. I'm going to own it all year. And there's two pieces. You'll see an offset between physician contracts and non-medical professional fees. They kind of offset each other. And that was just doing a budget in Excel versus the program. So when I allocated stuff, that was my bad. So overall, I just want to get that off the table so everyone knows I messed up. Overall, when you look at expenses, they were relatively stable from the prior month. Contract labor continues to run high based on, we have most of the current contracts will start dropping off, so we've got planned for the CNA, so we'll see those start to drop off October through December. Chad's got those kind of outlined as they start going away, so we see some of those contracts dropping off. When I get to the graph, I'll kind of touch base on how that looked. So with that, total expenses were 409,000 less than budget. So our budget did include some of the departments that have closed at this point, so we'll continue to see that improve. There's an operating margin of 7.38%, net margin of 9.9%. With that being said, we need to continue to have enough sufficient margin in a good months to offset the potentially negative margin of 20 months. From a balance sheet perspective, cash increased. It increased less than I expected during the month. Some of that had to do with prepaid expenses. We had a lot of our annual contracts that came up during the year that we had to pay out. So that increased roughly $2 million. So even with that, cash still increased 400,000 with prepaid jump at 400,000. So it was a good month cash wise when you look at it from that perspective. Cash continues to run strong through the month of August. We actually had a tremendous month collecting on hospital accounts during the month of August. So we expect cash to jump up. Publish those results. AR was flat at 71.9 days during the month, so we held it steady through the month of July, and it'll start to drop in August with those collections I mentioned. Days cash increased from 286.2 from 84.4, so the days didn't jump as much as I wanted to. That was due to the prepaid cash flow. I guess if there are any questions on the financials, they're pretty straightforward. There's no major variances in the months. Nothing. There wasn't some of the quality burning stuff I had to do. Probably most I didn't have any one-offs I was trying to account for. So it was one of our cleaner months.
Questions for Joe?
Through the chair. Where are we at in general with our reconciliations with Treasury?
The CBJ provided all the information last week, so we're in the process of getting all those journal entries posted, reconcile to the, so that's in the process now.
That's the interfund.
Yeah, it was late coming. When we first dropped to it, it was supposed to be like August 16th, pushed back into September before we finally got them. So we haven't been in the process of getting those things. We have Leslie actually of her own volition is coming up to be here during that audit week, so she'll be on site.
Oh, really?
So that'll help us out going through that process.
Okay.
With the ERP, we're scheduling.
Hold on a second on the financial results before we get away from that. On the financial statements. So when we look at, I'm on page 6 here. I just want to kind of get, since this is our first fiscal month of the year, I want to understand kind of what we're looking at. So the budget numbers include, those numbers include Wildflower Court, right?
Wildflower Court
And then they also include RRC, crisis,
and ABA.
and ABA. All of those are in these numbers.
But when you look at the expense side, crisis still existing, RRC still existing. So a lot of those expenses, the only one that got away in the month of July would be.
Yeah, so if you go to page 7 then, so page 7, which is Bartlett, that still includes, and so this peels wildfire court out, but it still has all those what we deemed as 9-4 in, right? So we're gonna have all this, we're gonna have a heck of a tailwind from a budget to actual. It's all, they almost become meaningless almost, don't they?
So, yeah, and as we move into the future months, we need to look at actuals, over month actuals is gonna be more important to us than the budget.
Yeah. And
So I started that report as I refer back to the prior month versus the budget, because
I'm not suggesting a change necessarily, but I want to talk about, does it make sense to go back through? Obviously, we have our budget with CBJ. This is our internal budget. Does it make sense to go back through our budget and make us, even if it's only at these 35, 40 lines or whatever, adjustments to it so that we can get a sense, compared to prior years important, but also compared to what our expectations important too, right? Is that a huge undertaking to do something like that?
now it's a presentation process. Carmen knows, like, so you talk about Carmen, ABA, crisis and RRC from the budget process, as they start to drop off in actuals, that's very doable. It's gonna be on the backside of the spreadsheet. But from your guys' perspective, that's what you'll see. It's not, so we already do that for the breakout financial statements anyway, so it's just
Yeah.
incorporating the budget to that.
Maybe you could do that because the budget is now input into Meditech, right? So it's not, you don't have to, when you talk about being on the backside, could we get this report and then also get one that's driven by your spreadsheets that says, here's what it looks like if we back out all these things that are gone now?
Thank you, David.
Yeah, well, it'd be nice to have it because a lot of that's gone by August and certainly by September, right?
Crisis starts dropping away mid-August. RRC will start dropping away, in September.
Okay, so maybe we try to do it as of our September numbers or something, okay.
If you have more questions.
I do, but go ahead.
This relates to, this is a follow-up to your initial question. So when the budget was uploaded, how far out did the budget include those?
For the whole year, it did.
So it was the whole,
Yeah.
so that being said, are we going to update the budget to reflect that change as the programs drop off?
That's what we're talking.
That's what he's asking. It's just a,
That's exactly what.
I'm talking about in Meditech.
Oh,
I'm not talking about on the presentation, but I'm talking about the in Meditech.
yeah, I don't see, personally, I kind of like the idea of being able to have some reference point that is what we approved, but just having it updated to back out those other things. And also Meditech's going to be gone here at some point, but I mean, yeah, so but I guess my preference would be leave the budget that's in Meditech alone, have it do it as a supplemental adjustment through a spreadsheet so that we can compare the differences and not have it just be the only reference point that we got here.
I don't disagree. I just wanted to know what the plan was for that budget going forward once all of the expenses have dropped out of the actuals.
Yeah, I got you. So could you go to page 8? So this is the first time I noticed this, but we got cross-footing problems here, Joe. Is this out of Meditech? I haven't seen this in prior months. You see that? So the month variance on the left doesn't work. And then it's kind of weird because you go over to the right and there's a dollar variance like on line 2.
yeah, I see what you're saying.
So,
This could be a Meditech glitch because it's just a straight down that one.
yeah.
I'll double check that.
And so when we go down to 20, 21, 22, the labor lines, there's no budget for contract labor. There must have been a budget for contract labor, right?
Yeah, we got pushed back into non-medical professional fees. That's what the budget got uploaded. What's the line item issue?
So I guess then my question is, if we're 100 grand over on, against budget on, and I know Kim's online, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, Kim, but if we're 100,000 over on the salary and wages line, 94,000, and it looks like we've got, if you take the 211 for contract labor and compare that to the 100,000 for line 26, we're also over there by 100,000. Why are we running so hot against budget so far this year? I mean, is the problem with the budget line, or is the problem with we've got more staff around than we anticipated? Do you want to get back to us on that?
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, that's fine. Would you circulate to the committee? I don't think you need to do it to the whole board. When you get this straightened out, I'd like to see a revised copy of this, okay? And then the other question, which is on receivables. First of all, I appreciated the 13-month roll forwards that you have to include the prior year. So instead of 12, it's 13. That's great information. But I was expecting receivables to come down more. And I'm sorry, I'm on page. Page 11, I'm sorry. So I noted that you talked about they're going to come down, but I thought we collected a lot of that wildflower coordinator money, didn't we?
Yeah, the issue during the month of July is we had to slow down the hospital side, so the collections kind of lagged. And then it's sped up during the month of August. So you'll see the data dropping in August or so.
How much will that come down by in August? Do you think that $29 million?
I looked at it this morning, gross dropped 5 million in August. So I don't have the net number off the top of my head.
3 million probably at least. Okay. It sure would be nice to really see some progress made on that. I know you agree with that, but
During the month of
we're still high on our,
August, just for the hospital, we collected over $13 million in cash, which is extraordinary.
okay. And I had one more question on inpatient revenue on the hospital side. So if you go back up to page 7, so that increase, if you look at, I mean, it's really great for heaven's sakes. If you look at line 17, we're about almost $2 million over last year for July. And if you go up, it's almost all in the inpatient category for in line 1, right? I mean, you got a big bump in line 1. And is that mental health mostly, or what is that?
When I was doing a month-over-month comparison, when you looked at the way they booked wildflower reports first month, none of it got booked into July. They booked it as a year-to-date catch-up in August. So there's a variance there that we're not seeing.
Gotcha. So we're going to see kind of, it'll take a couple of months for all that wildfire report stuff to work its way through. All right. That's all I had.
Can you go down to page 16? Yeah, it's gonna be the first graph, the next graph.
It's up,
Yeah.
down. This mouse is dying, I'm sorry.
So our decrease in FTEs got stagnated during the month, but we still are making progress in that. You'll see kind of a gap on the contract labor expanded there. We did have to add a few contract labor positions just due to staffing. During the month of August and probably into September, you'll see a bump in our FTEs. Some of that is bringing all those new CNAs without taking the contractors off. So just wanted to prep everyone for that. This could jump up before we start going back down again.
So you got some crossover that basically.
Yeah, we have to have those people in place to train the new people. And so there'll be some crossover as it goes out before it comes back in. When we go on to the next slide, we've updated the savings slide to include some projected savings. So these are things we know are going to happen in the future. It's projected. That's either the cancellation of contracts, that's FTE decrease, that's the CNA contractor switch over on Wildflower Court. So you can see our projected savings. As a graph up there in the no is we're about $5.5 million with our goal. The goal has been amended because our goal was 9.8 million last month, but that included RRC as an entity. So we've amended this goal to exclude that as the service line. So we've rebased our goal with it. So we've made progress, so we can see where we're at in relation to our goal. The one caveat that doesn't show in this goal was based before we start taking in the implication of the cost-based reimbursement of ending a lot of these programs. So as they go away, the cost sink or the allocation to these departments increases that reimbursement on the hospital side, and trying to figure out or calculate that with any degree of accuracy is pretty tough at this point. So we know that 8.4 is probably a little bit high, but that's what we got, just as a goal. As we look forward into the month of August, we have revenue in place and in the process of financials. I expect August to look very similar to July. I expect that positive on about the same magnitude as July. That
What about September? I know we're early in the month, but I mean, how's it looking so far?
10 days of revenue. Revenue is starting to drop off a little bit just in the projection.
Yeah.
So I think it's starting to trend down as we start seeing the season. So, you're right.
It is pretty amazing to start out basically instead of 800 grand in the hole, so start at 1.3 million dollars to be good. You know, it's like, it's hard not to smile about that one.
But winter is coming.
Yeah, it is. But nevertheless, it was like, it was already winter last July, you know?
That's all I have. If you have questions.
I don't have any more questions.
Let's talk about critical access. Is there anything new there?
No update on critical access. I had sent an email to Marcy Bitch. Who
Yeah.
was the one that requested the information. I haven't been updated on that.
You did say too that it might be a little while just because she was out with some personal stuff.
Emily Ricci was out with some
Okay.
personal issues, so that's why I expect.
Sorry.
If you're right.
Okay. And then at the finance committee meeting, at the assembly, they approved the audit, having us do our own audit. Is there any new update on timing and who will be on the scoring committee and all that?
Yeah, so I got sent the RFP to revise. Angie Flick's gone out on vacation until she's returning in October. And I have it listed as, when we start going through our scoring committee, who we want to involve in that. And so I've got, I think you stated that you want to be involved in the process.
That's part of the reason I want to bring it up,
Okay.
for them, make sure they're good with that.
Yeah, well, with Angie being out, I have my response to someone like, so it's pending.
She's on
The request.
cruise to Hawaii. Okay, so they split out the audit.
Right.
We get to do our own audit, and the question is, who scores the RFPs when they come back? Typically, there's 3, maybe 4 people on the scoring committee. Is that right?
Try to keep it down. So 3 or 5.
3 or 5. So I would like to have board involvement in scoring. Are you guys good with that? And I was gonna do it, but I'm not, if one of you guys would want to do it, that's fine. I just think it'd be healthy to have the board and somebody from finance involved and
I can if you don't want to, but
to evaluate the
You
skill
have more
sets.
experience.
I have experience, right, but,
Yeah.
but you have more direct experience with,
Financial audit stuff. So we're gonna say. Yeah.
but current experience with the community and with auditing healthcare. Mine is old experience.
It's mostly just having somebody work from governance on there.
Yeah.
So, okay. That's all I have. Still pretty quick, man.
So
Not a record. I know we still, but I mean, we're through the core of the agenda. Okay, so are we turning it over, or are you starting this one off or what? Do we need a motion to go into executive session?
I know the finance committee of Bartlett Regional Hospital recess into executive session to discuss matters, those which by law, municipal charter, or ordinance are required to be confidential or involve consideration of records that are not subject to public disclosure, specifically union negotiations.
Thank you. Okay, we're out of, motion to take us out of executive session. Okay. We're out of executive session. Is there anything more?
Next meeting.
Okay, yeah, when is our next meeting? What do we got on the schedule here? What's on there? October 18th.
That is a holiday. You could post it, not caught it, it is. So we might want to consider bumping that up a week.
Gonna have to. October 13th.
I feel right.
When's the board meeting that month? Is it it'd be the 29th
We moved it up,
to the 20th?
we bumped it a day. Am I wrong?
Is that October?
It's October
Yeah, but Kenny asked that we move it to Monday.
21st. That
I
would
think
work.
it was the 21st.
Wow.
You bump it.
What about the 17th? Like as much time as possible to see some September numbers. Does 17th work with everybody?
Works for me.
Stephanie? Deb?
That's fine.
Okay.
Do we prefer noon or 11:30 like we had today?
I'm good either way. What would you guys prefer?
I'm good either way. I just I couldn't remember why we bumped it back a half an hour.
Let's stick with noon then. And then, yeah, 12 to 1:30 on October 17th. And
And I have to remote in on that one. So the-
I will be remoting in for that one, so. I'll be.
What is the holiday? That it doesn't show up as a holiday on my calendar because it's not a holiday for me. It's only a holiday for the state and the CBJ.
Okay, so October 17th at noon.
Yeah. Okay, if there's nothing more, then we are, committee comments and questions. Any? We're adjourned.